Monday, September 18th, 2017. To you. Chile is celebrating its National Day. Indeed, Chileans are so focused on partying that they ignore the rest of the world. They behave as if they were taking vacations from the planet. Still, things go on regardless of how exultant Chileans can be. For instance, the UN General Assembly was opened today and undoubtedly everyone's eyes were staring at the big star, President Donald J. Trump. It was the first time Mr. Trump delivered a speech before the UN. Surely, back in his old tycoon days, he passed in his limousine by the UN headquarters in New York City, but never bothered himself to enter into the building, which he did today. Many pundits were afraid that Mr. Trump would repeat the scene he made in May at the NATO summit. At the end, his speech turned out to be more tempered than expected. There, Mr. Trump talked about many issues, including the so frequently discussed UN reform. In recent years, the United Nations has not reached its full potential due to bureaucracy and mismanagement, he said. A lot of experts have constantly said that the UN needs a profound change. Obviously, I agree with them. I have seen how the UN has an ongoing existential crisis, as it were, which has impeded the organization from working correctly. First and foremost, the UN is still a World War II relic. It is an obsolete idea that the war's winning powers enjoy a veto power at the Security Council, as it happens in present times. Many experts are advocating for a new criteria, like granting veto power to top contributors. I agree with that opinion. Interestingly, a non-veto player like Japan contributes more than a veto player like China. Japan's participation in the UN budget is 9.68%, whereas China's is 7.92%. For its part, Germany, a World War II loser, contributes 6.39% to the UN budget, more than the 4.8% of France, another veto player. Following that reasoning, both Japan and Germany ought to become permanent members at the Security Council. Of course, such an idea would face a firm opposition of veto players, and this is by no means the most complicated issue. Ever since its creation, the UN has been something in between a diplomatic organization and an emergency management agency. UN diplomats must always act like firefighters next to their handy radio devices because conflict risk can always show up everywhere and every time. The UN could be a more agile institution, especially now when warfare is not the way that statements had in mind when the United Nations Treaty was signed in San Francisco in 1945. Anyway, the UN must be reformed, but its diplomats do not feel any urgency. After all, the UN must be reformed. The world is still on.